What's an moment where you realized you've been doing something the wrong way for years? I had a used car and didn't realize until a couple years later that it had remote start. Person buying my now more used car, this has remote start? Me, no. Person, pushes button, starts car. Me. Well, price just went up. When I was 5, a Pizza Hut employee told me that the powder on the breadsticks was called fairy dust. Ordered extra fairy dust on my breadsticks until I was around 14 when an employee said, "Do you mean garlic salt?" It still devastates me to realize how obtuse I was. I worked at Pizza Hut from 16 to 21. We called it fairy dust. I had to Google this. I'm legit shocked again by this damn powder. So it appears the first employee in my story wasn't ducking with me. And the second employee wasn't a knowledgeable member of the team. We bought a nice liquor cabinet. We got it delivered and noticed it was a bit shorter than we thought. No biggie. 3 years later, we're moving. Lift up cabinet and these beautiful, ornate, screw-on legs wrapped in tape and bubble wrap fall off the bottom. Looks so much better now. Reminds me of when my mum bought a new sofa. About 6 months later she's hoovering under the cushions when the base fabric pulls back to reveal some sort of metal end. A mattress? Turns out we had a sofa bed. Made my friends sleep on the floor with a sofa bed right there. This one is extra funny if one of your friends recognized the sofa bed from one of their relatives' houses. And was just lying next to it all night going, why would he do this? I thought we were friends. Couple years ago I was trying to open some toothpaste and had to break the seal of the tube. I used to look for something like a nail to break it. Then one day I looked at the pointy end of the cap and thought, what if I could use this to break it, and oh, it did fit and broke it effortlessly. And so did every other tube product I had in the house and their respective cap. My mind was blown. I was cooking with my boyfriend a month or so ago, and I was confused when he mentioned he hated opening tubes of tomato puree, because I just find it satisfying. I then proceeded to stare at him in disbelief when he started trying to peel the tiny foil seal off the end of the tube. I just slowly reached out, picked the screw top cap off the counter, and showed him the pointy bit. Since the dawn of time, I would pick up the silverware and utensils out of their tray in the dishwasher and put them away in their drawers, then go back and pick up more out of the dishwasher. Then one day I saw my wife lift the tray out of the dishwasher and I legit stood there with my mouth open. God damn it. I knew that thing moved because I've removed it and changed it around to make pans or big dishes fit better. And I've still been going back and forth for the silverware. Mine routinely shifts and comes out as I'm trying to pull the silverware out, if there's too much in it. And my idiot response is to get mad and shove it back into place instead of realizing the universe is trying to show me something. I always thought eggplant tasted itchy, like itchy was a flavor, like sour or salty. Fed some to my baby and his face turned red wherever the eggplant touched, and I realized we're both just allergic to eggplant. And itchy isn't a flavor. I lolled at itchy isn't a flavor. No one really ever told me you don't need to buy shoes with the 2 fingers space in front of the toes after your feet stop growing. I had been buying an entire size too big until about age 23. One day in college I decided to try a pair of Merrell barefoot type shoes, and after reading the sizing guide, bam! Mind blown. It's terribly obvious mistake I, 29F, like to blame on being an only child. But really I'm just a fucking moron. I had this problem until about 25. Never really thought about it, I was always a size 10. That's what mom bought me in high school, why would it be any different now? Only thing is, I stopped growing at 14, never had another growth spurt. As guys, we were always told you'll keep growing till late teens, early 20s for some. Yeah, that didn't happen for me. Luckily I was buying a pair of nice boots and the clerk was like, dude, there's no way you're a size 10. You're barely a size 9. I was so happy once the blisters I'd always dealt with went away. Well, this was a few years ago. I was the director of IT for a very large company. I was given a new cell phone and told to set up my voicemail. I don't know that when I recorded my name it would be played to whomever I leave a voicemail for. Well, the name I recorded was Duder84 Corporate IT God. I worked there for 4 years until someone in the hallway referred to me as the Corporate IT God. I was so embarrassed. Wear it confidently. This type of it makes people like you more. They don't feel the need to be fake around you. When I was a kid, I loved drinking coffee but didn't know how to make it. My mom taught me, but the coffee ratio she told me to use was like 1 tablespoon per 1 pot of coffee, as opposed to the actual ratio 1 tablespoon: 1 cup of water. Fast forward about 13 years to a couple months ago, and I was reading the back of my Folgers coffee thing, and there was a little diagram showing how much to actually use. I then realized my mom had told me the wrong amount so I wouldn't drink all her coffee, and B wasn't super hyped up going into school. I owned a car with swivel headlights, and it was very nice to have that. Discovered 3 years in that I had never turned on the swivel feature. My uncle has a 2005 Lexus that has swivel lights. When the car turns off, they face down. The swivel motor broke in both headlights a few years ago and no longer turn up to face straight. He lives a few hours from me and I don't visit that often. So when I finally went to visit him, I pointed out the problem. He had been using his high beams full time at night for years because he thought the low beams just weren't good enough. Oh man, I thought the AC button in my car, Snowflake, was defrost, so I never used it in summer. Did I feel dumb? 2 years. Last month was the first time I discovered lint rollers were peelable. Literally sat there for a minute to take that in. I'm 20. So, did you just buy new ones every time it stopped being sticky? I lived in a house for 6 years with a bathroom with no shelf or cupboard to put toiletries into. I was very disappointed and ended up using a windowsill that was way too small to fit everything. Anyway, one day we had a friend over and he asked why we don't have anything in our bathroom cupboard. I was confused, so he showed me. It turns out that the mirror I had been using for 6 years has a hidden compartment behind it. It was a mirror door to a mounted cupboard on the wall. I was astonished and immediately moved all my stuff from the window into the new space. My friend was baffled that I had never figured out there was a space behind the mirror. There was an obvious gap between it and the wall that I somehow failed to notice. My name is Ryan. It took me until I was in 1st grade to realize my name wasn't in the alphabet. My mom had told me my name was in the alphabet, and I felt so lucky. She obviously meant the letters to spell my name were in the alphabet. But nope. It took that long to realize the alphabet didn't go W, X, Ryan Z. Don't feel bad. My birthday is in July. I was under the impression until I was 7 that the 4th of July, the fireworks, specifically, were for my birthday. I felt really dumb, but also really sad when I realized they weren't. Not wrong for years, but I work help desk, and we use a specific, terrible, piece of software for our support system, IBM Notes. It turns out, that for the first 9 months I had been working there, it wasn't set up properly, so I wasn't sending any emails from it, at all. No notifications that the ticket went to me, no responses from me, no close notifications, nothing. Someone noticed this, took a look, and fixed a setting. I immediately sent out over 1,000 emails to everyone in the company. You work in IT and managed to keep your job without sending emails for 9 months, that's impressive. This is insane to me. My boss gets on me if he doesn't see me send enough emails in a day. Realized the multicolored tape measures glued to the door frames of gas stations etc. are for identifying robbers, not for measuring yourself as you walk out. I mean, they can be, but that's not why they are there. Unless you're the robber. Not mine, but my dad has been spelling his name wrong his whole life. He's 51. His name is Jeffrey, and he's been spelling it like that since he learned how to spell his name. A few months ago my mom pulled out his birth certificate, and we all learned it's actually spelled Jeffrey. Not sure if he spells it correctly now, but it was definitely a no shit moment for him. Grandfather thought his name was Harvey his whole life. Got his birth certificate at 65 and it's Harmon. My aunt and uncle gave my grandmother a copy of her birth certificate for her birthday. Apparently she had never had one. On her 77th birthday, she found out she was actually 78. Learned earlier last year, bust a nut isn't an expression for when something hits your nuts or you land in a way that crushes them. Used to fill the kettle by the spout. My parents have always done it this way. I thought the center part was mainly for decoration, but not functional. I don't know why I never questioned this. One day I bought a new tea kettle and my husband was like, "WTF, what is inside this?" And with great ease, opened the center to pull out a manual with instructions and whatnot. I was drinking dirty paper water for like 2 weeks.